Good day, folks. Today, we're going to make a new weapon. So this is going to take us through kind of like altering existing prefabs, mixing up some new assets, and just having a grand old time. So last time, like when we did like importing our asset, I had you start off with just like the sort of intro menu as your sort of like where you're going to start. We're going to change things up. What I'd like you to do is in your project section here, where you go to scenes, I just want you to load up where it says main scene. Okay, so we're going to start off like this would be sort of like where our player spawns. And right now I'm set to the game tab. Let's go ahead to where it says scene. That gives us a better sense as far as like the overall layout of the map and that kind of stuff. But anyways. Let's go ahead and we're going to make a empty object that we're going to be using as sort of like where we're going to be populating and sort of working with. So to make a new game object, we're just going to click on this plus button or just say create empty. Now I'm going to rename this object. You can rename it like right here or just by like clicking on the object and you can do it that way. But anyways, we're going to call this burst rifle. So we're going to say weapon. I'm going to use the underscore character. This isn't super important, but it's just one of those things like all the other weapons have this like naming style. So weapon underscore, that's going to be shift, and then the button next to the plus button on the top of your keyboard. We're going to call this burst rifle. Again, it's not going to hurt if you have something that's slightly different. We're then going to put this empty object into our prefabs folder. So where it says prefabs, let's open this up, and it's going to be the other prefabs. It's going to be the one of the like the main thing rather than the mod assets. So it'll be this top one, FPS prefabs, and then weapons. We see there's some other weapons in here. So we're going to go ahead and click and drag that burst rifle into here and make this into a prefab. So let's go ahead and double click on it. And if you don't have this sort of view, you just make sure that you're on the scene tab. All right. So from here, we're going to make some adjustments and make sure like it's set to the default values as far as our X, Y, and Z coordinates. So make sure that position is set to 0, 0, and 0. All right. From here, we're going to add the weapon controller script. So weapon controller. And that's going to add just a ton of stuff that we're going to be able to populate. So it's going to add like the script that is going to control its behavior. It added audio source. It added just a ton of stuff. So what we're going to do is sort of work through all of the things that need to be associated with this script to have a like kind of a weapon come through. So let's get started with that. So let's go ahead then. We're going to add a mesh. Which is going to just serve sort of like as a kind of like a basic model for this. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to also lock this for now. And we're going to go ahead to our mod assets. And we're going to go underneath the models tab. We're going to go to weapons. And then we've got here two sort of like prefabs. It doesn't matter which one you use. I'm going to do the mesh weapon 1, okay? And what we're going to do is we're just going to click and drag it to our burst rifle. So it's going to be a child object. What we're going to then do is make sure, let's unlock this, mesh weapon 1. We're going to make sure then that the position is set to a very particular one. This is just so that like it's going to be set to the right spot like when we play the game. So it's going to be set to 0. And a 0.1 for the Y, and then a Z is going to be 0.27. One thing you can do too is if you, right here where it says it's set to perspective, I'm just going to click on the, so you can kind of like get different model views. I'm just going to make sure that I've kind of set so that it is along the x-axis. I just want to sort of see it kind of like so it's just horizontal. All right, so this is now just so it's we're seeing it from the perspective like that. Anyways, okay, So now it's time to like actually start working through the like overall weapon script. Okay, so weapon name. You can call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it burst rifle. You could call it like Big Papa's gun. It doesn't really matter. But let's just call it burst rifle. Okay. Now we're just going to work through all these different things. All right, so weapon icon, we're going to use, and one thing too, where it says the sprite selector, if you expand it, you get a lot more. Okay, but anyways, we're going to call this just HUD, and we can pick any of these. I'm just going to go ahead with HUD weapon 1. Doesn't really matter, just double click on that. That's been selected. And now let's go ahead to our crosshair. So by default, like what's it going to look like? And this is some nice things, like nice stuff you can play around with this. But anyways, crosshair sprite. Let's set that to just the hexagon. Okay. The size we're going to set to 50. And now our color, what we'll do is I want to just set it to kind of a dark red. Let's just kind of move this along. Make sure to set your alpha channel to 100 though. Okay. And then, so it's sort of a darker red. Just remember this, I'm going to set it so it's a kind of a lighter red than like when we mess around with the crosshair data target in sight. So I'm going to make it so that, let's set the same shape. So hexa. Okay, set it to 50. So basically regular, and then if it detects the enemy, I'm going to just set it so like it's a lighter red. Oh, not 200, 100. Okay, and then just sort of like so it's a slightly different, like kind of a pinkish sort of situation. So you see like regular, enemy. Okay. All right, so then that's sort of kind of a nice little thing that you can play around with. Now, weapon root is going to actually be kind of like self-referential in a way. You're going to go ahead and just drag the weapon mesh that we sort of set as a child object. And now weapon muzzle, we are going to create an object that is going to go just in front of the of this guy here. So let's go ahead. Let's do a plus. We'll say create empty. We'll call this We'll call this muzzle. Okay, and then we're gonna click, and so you see there's that muzzle. I'm just gonna click and drag it so it's like right in front of the object. Okay, a little bit up actually, sort of like that. There's really no wrong answer to that, but that's just sort of one thing we've set up. So then when we go here to what says weapon muzzle, let's go ahead and set the muzz right there. Okay, cool. Did we set that as a child? I want to make sure this is a child object of, see how I have it like that. Make sure it's a child object. Let's see if that changed anything. I just want to re-add it. Okay, cool. Anyways, so that muzzle has then been added as a transform as a reference for that. Okay, so now let's get some more sort of more fun stuff. Okay, so our shoot type is going to be set to automatic because this is a burst rifle type of thing. And now let's go ahead and add a projectile prefab. I'm going to lock this again just because sometimes when you're around here, kind of goes a bit wild. Okay, so this is going to be another thing where we're going through the existing prefabs. Let's go ahead to here for our projectiles, and again there's some different choices here. I'm going to go with the blaster as my projectile. No wrong answer though. And then the shots, the other sort of parameters when it's set, delay between shots, let's set it to 0.05. The bullet spread angle set to 0.5. And then bullets per shot, we're going to set to 1. To do recoil force, keep it at 1. Aim zoom to 0.25. and then aim offset to 0.13, and then 0. And then for the ammo reload rate, we're going to set this just to like almost instantaneous. The idea being is that between like shots, like there's going to be no sort of it's going to be boom, 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 boom. Okay. And then set the delay to 0.7. All right, max ammo set to 3. All right, now we're going to go ahead and set a muzzle flash. So let's go ahead here to that muzzle flash. We're down here. And we're going to go ahead to our assets, FPS, prefabs, and then it's going to be VFX, visual effects. And we're going to go ahead to the muzzle flash here. Muzzle flash blue, green, red, doesn't really matter. I'm going to set it to blue. Okay. And then for our muzzle flash, we'll set that here. All right. And then for our, like the sound, so it says shoot sound effects. There's a VFX, so we're going to go ahead to our audio folder, and then sound effects, weapons, and then we can set it to, I don't know, blaster shot. Cool. All right, and then the charge weapon, we're going to set to the pickups, and then we go ahead here to our weapon medium. Okay, so now that's sort of like we've now created the weapon. I'm just going to go ahead here and save that, so that prefab is now saved. That asterisk went away. So we're going to go ahead and create a pickup. So like, how does the character actually get this thing? So we go ahead and we're going to use an existing pickup. So if we go to our prefabs folder, we go to pickups, and then we're going to take the blaster prefab and we're going to duplicate it. On our computers, it's going to be just the command button, which is next to our space bar. So press and hold that, and then press the letter D to duplicate. All right, so take the one, see how there's two of them here. Take the one that says Blaster 1. Let's unlock this. Go to the inspector for this. All right, I double clicked on it. And we're gonna I'm gonna lock it for now, and where it says pick up blaster, we're gonna set this to pick up burst weapon. Okay. Now what we're gonna do is we are going to basically swap out the assets. So where it says our pickup blaster, so it says here weapon pickup, that's fine. Now where it says weapon prefab, weapon blaster, we're going to swap that out. So the way we do that is we go to our weapons folder, and there's that weapon that we just built. Let's pop that in. All right. And the other thing we're going to do though is we're going to get rid of this right now. This blaster here is what's like the original thing in there. That's the model, so we're going to go ahead and delete that. And we're going to click and drag our prefab like to the mesh thing right there. And then basically what that does is it displays the model. Okay, so we've created prefab. Let's save that, of course. Let's rename the file. Okay. Let's make sure our pickup is right there. Okay, so if you double click on the player in the hierarchy, you see that's where they start out at. So I'm just going to use my keyboard a second to navigate kind of like where we're going. And what we'll do is we'll take our pickups folder, make sure that's set up. There's our blaster. And I just clicked and dragged that, and now that's in the game. So if I click on play, and then let's try to move around. It's a little slow. There's our blaster we just added. And to switch it, that I believe it's key number 2. And there's the... Oh, our muzzle. We might have to change where the muzzle is. Do you see where that's kind of off to the side? So we'll need to make that adjustment, which shouldn't be that bad. So, but anyways, I'll let you do that. Yeah, so congrats. That's the first module. Great stuff.